Sending 2 people to the hospital, and it lands a rapper in jail. 7 Sheldon Fox with the exclusive.
Rapper Pooh Shiesty's name is back in the headlines, and this time, it is his mother who gave fans something to talk about. She recently updated his release date on Facebook, sparking fresh discussions across the music scene. Shiesty's case has always stood out, not just because of the charges, but how everything unfolded. He was accused of committing an armed robbery while driving a luxury McLaren, and just hours later, he was on Instagram flashing cash, boarding a private jet like nothing happened. Despite the gravity of his case, Pooh Shiesty's legal team worked diligently to strike a deal that could result in his release in 2025, a timeline that took many by surprise. However, as the news of his potential freedom spread, so did a wave of rumors, with some suggesting that the rapper had become an informant. The music industry, known for its fierce loyalty codes and swift judgments, wasted no time casting doubts on Shiesty's character. The accusations of snitching seemed to spread like wildfire, but his close friends and supporters were quick to step in and defend his name. Big 30, one of Shiesty's longtime friends, was among the first to speak out. In a passionate Instagram live session, he made it clear that he would not stand by and let his friend's reputation be tarnished. Swearing on everything he valued, Big 30 emphatically denied the accusations, even going as far as to promise that if anyone could produce concrete evidence showing Shiesty had cooperated with the authorities, he would throw his jewelry into the river and jump in after it. This strong defense was a direct challenge to the rumors, offering unwavering support for Shiesty. As the situation grew more complex, DJ Academics weighed in with his perspective. He pointed out that Shiesty's legal journey had not followed the typical path of someone facing such serious charges, suggesting that there were factors at play behind the scenes that the public might not fully grasp. Academics implied that Shiesty's case wasn't as clear-cut as it seemed on the surface, and that there might be more to the story than the rumors suggested. In an industry where loyalty and street credibility are paramount, the unfolding drama surrounding Pooh Shiesty remains a mystery. The truth about his legal deal and the rumors of betrayal are still evolving, and it's clear that there is much more to uncover as his story continues to develop.
Pooh Shiesty, who looked like he's absolutely chilling in jail. My boy got a little Richard Millie, you know what I mean? Got the haircut.
To really understand when Pooh Shiesty will officially be released, you need to look closely at the latest updates in his case. DJ Academics recently tweeted, "Pooh Shiesty is at a halfway house. He's going to be home soon." That single line had fans buzzing, but behind it is a wild story that starts long before. According to court documents, the original crime began when Shiesty and one of his friends arranged a meetup. On the surface, it looked like a deal for luxury sneakers and some narcotics. But behind the scenes, there was a whole different plan in motion. Shiesty pulled up in a flashy green McLaren, ready to carry out something much more serious. As they waited for the sellers to arrive, Shiesty and his friend quietly worked out a plan to rob them. When the sellers showed up, Shiesty began inspecting the sneakers, acting like the deal was real. That move gave his friend time to get into position. What started as a price negotiation quickly turned into a heated argument. Then, things escalated. Shiesty pulled a gun from his waistband. The 2 sellers tried to run and took cover behind their car, but it was too late. One was shot in the hip, the other in the backside. As this unfolded, Shiesty's friend grabbed both the sneakers and the drugs, tossing them into the McLaren. Shiesty, making sure the sellers were not planning to shoot back, jumped into the car and sped off. But in the rush to escape, a crucial mistake happened. When he slammed the car door, a Louis Vuitton bag slipped out of the door pocket and fell onto the street. Inside was $40,000 in cash, and that bag would become the key piece of evidence that tied Shiesty to the scene. After the robbery, Shiesty made a bold move. He went straight to a nearby airport in Miami, chartered a private jet, and flew out of Florida. But that escape was short-lived. Federal authorities caught up with him just days later. The town of Bay Harbor Islands officially listed him as wanted, charging him with armed robbery and battery. The affidavit also mentioned the fact that he and his accomplice left the state immediately after the crime using a private jet. Although he was initially released on a $30,000 bond, his legal troubles were far from over. Just 2 months later, he returned to court and was sentenced, setting the course for his time behind bars. Now, with Shiesty in a halfway house, the end of that chapter may be near. But the road that got him here was anything but ordinary.
Mr. Williams, you were arrested for pursuant to an arrest warrant. It was issued June 3rd. It's charging you. You have 2 attorneys.
As Pooh Shiesty's court saga came to a close, DJ Academics was quick to update fans, confirming that the Memphis rapper had officially been sentenced to 63 months in prison. Originally, he was staring down a possible 8-year sentence. So many were surprised at the outcome. Even Academics pointed out how light the sentence seemed, noting that Shiesty could be out sooner than people expected. "I think he's coming home next year. Maybe the one after that," he said, hinting that freedom might be just around the corner. What stood out even more was Shiesty's attitude throughout the process. According to Academics, he was not complaining or begging for sympathy, just owning the situation and quietly doing his time. That silence spoke volumes, especially in a world where everyone is quick to defend themselves online. Shiesty seemed to be sending one clear message: he is solid. Pooh Shiesty's time behind bars has been marked by a whirlwind of speculation, rumors, and debates, particularly in the wake of his mother's now infamous Facebook post that simply read, "It's over." In an instant, that short but powerful phrase sent shockwaves through the internet, signaling to fans and critics alike that Shiesty's prison sentence was nearing its end. The phrase was a subtle yet undeniable hint that the rapper's time locked away was almost up, and the world was eagerly waiting for what would come next. The post quickly went viral, amplifying the conversation about Shiesty's potential return, and it sparked a flood of questions about his future both in music and life. But the story behind Shiesty's legal troubles goes much deeper than the flashy headlines surrounding his notorious robbery. While many initially believed that his criminal activities were merely a way to build a street image that could fuel his rap career, it soon became apparent that this lifestyle wasn't something Shiesty adopted for the sake of fame. It was a part of his identity long before he ever picked up a microphone. His connection to the streets, to the risks, and to the hustle wasn't some crafted persona to sell records. It was simply who he was. For Shiesty, the line between his real-life experiences and the content of his lyrics was often blurry, if not non-existent. His music didn't just reflect the lifestyle, it embodied it, capturing the raw, unfiltered truths of his world. Despite the early perception that Shiesty was simply using his past to boost his rap career, it's clear now that his story is far more complicated. The decisions that led to his legal troubles weren't part of a calculated strategy for fame, but rather a manifestation of the environment he grew up in. The same environment that shaped his music also shaped the man behind the microphone. Shiesty's personal journey has never been just about fame or fortune. It's been about survival, loyalty, and the harsh realities of the streets. His music was always his way of processing, reflecting, and sharing those experiences, and it resonated deeply with fans who saw themselves in his words. With his release now imminent, the question on everyone's mind is what comes next for Shiesty. Will he come back from this time in prison stronger, wiser, and more focused on his career, or will he fall back into the same patterns that led to his incarceration in the first place? The pressure on him to prove that he's learned from his past mistakes is immense. Fans are waiting to see whether Shiesty will channel his time behind bars into creative energy, producing new, more introspective music that reflects his growth, or if he will return to his old ways, continuing to glorify the lifestyle that landed him in prison in the first place. One thing is certain, the world will be watching closely. The rap industry, his fans, and even his critics are all waiting to see how he navigates this next phase of his life. Shiesty's story is far from over, and how he chooses to handle his comeback will shape not only his career, but his legacy. Whether he rises above his past or falls back into old habits, his return to the rap scene will undoubtedly be one of the most closely watched moments in recent hip-hop history.
Hey, look, Pooh Shiesty was probably the biggest artist that he signed in recent memory. But Pooh Shiesty had a history.
Pooh Shiesty's early release is not just luck, it comes down to a strategic legal move called a proffer deal. For those unfamiliar, a proffer is when a defendant gives prosecutors information related to their own crime, sometimes in exchange for a lighter sentence. While the word itself might sound like snitching, that was not the case here. Shiesty did not give up anyone else, he simply broke down how everything happened and took full responsibility for his own role. What really helped his case was how detailed he was about the mistakes he made during the crime. One major error? He pulled off the robbery right next to a police station. Seriously, just across the street. So, when gunshots rang out, nearby officers knew exactly where to go. They arrived almost instantly at the parking lot where the incident happened and found one crucial piece of evidence, a Louis Vuitton bag that Shiesty had accidentally dropped while getting into his McLaren. Inside was $40,000 in cash. Now, here is where the investigation took a modern turn. The feds, tipped off by the public that Shiesty might be involved, took a deep dive into his Instagram. They downloaded photos of him flexing stacks of cash spread across his arms and chest. Then came the clever part. Agents compared the serial numbers on the bills in those pictures with the money recovered from the crime scene. In a rare match, they found exact serial number matches. The money in the photos was the same money from the bag. That kind of mistake, leaving behind physical evidence and digital breadcrumbs, made it easy for investigators to connect the dots. And by walking the feds through these details himself in the proffer deal, Shiesty essentially showed that he owned his actions without dragging anyone else down. His decision to explain everything honestly, admit where he went wrong, and stay silent otherwise may have played a big role in why his sentence was reduced. It was not just about doing time, it was about facing the truth on his own terms. Shiesty's situation took an even wilder turn when, on the same night as the robbery, he posted selfies of himself with the very McLaren that had just been involved in the crime. It almost seemed like he was daring the authorities to catch up with him, inviting them to make the arrest. But as the rumors about him being a snitch continued to spread throughout the rap world, Shiesty had enough. He wasn't about to let others define his story. From jail, he dropped a bold and defiant message, calling out those who dared to disrespect him. King Shy tapping in from the penitentiary, he began, asserting that he was far from broken. I remain untouched. I've got millions, double digits. Tell Google to fix my net worth. Let's verify it right now, he declared, clearly frustrated by the false narratives being spun about him. He made it clear that despite being locked up, he was still living larger than most. I was 21, up 8 figures. Jay-Z can't even relate to my money. Shiesty was not just fighting legal battles, he was fighting for his reputation. He took direct shots at his critics. Stop playing with my name before I buy one of you for sale, he warned, emphasizing his continued strength and influence. He made sure everyone knew he was still the king of Memphis, no matter what people said or did. Slick is almost the same man, just a little more powerful. But talking about Baby Larry, how did you let a man in the feds outdo you? He taunted, showing that he felt untouchable, even in prison. He didn't mince words about the people he considered disloyal. You can't beat me. You need your hands in the game before you do something with me, he said, directing his anger toward those who tried to tear him down. For his fans and supporters, he offered a message of gratitude. To my fans, supporters, and loved ones holding me down every day, keep it solid. It doesn't go unnoticed. I see everything and have something special for all of y'all. But for those trying to count him out, his message was clear. The rest of you are done. Keep hating, false advertising, backbiting. It's up and stuck like a treehouse. I'm touching down. I've got a chip on my shoulder and I'm going 100% on you guys. This powerful statement from Shiesty was sent out before his arrest, and it perfectly encapsulates the way he views himself, not as a victim, but as a man who stands tall, no matter the circumstances. Even behind bars, he remains a force to be reckoned with.
When I got signed, but I'm gonna tell you before I got signed, like breaking news. The verse on breaking news made it.
Will he continue to churn out tracks with the same intensity and fire that made him a household name, or will the time spent behind bars have changed his approach to music? One of the biggest questions surrounding Shiesty's return is whether he'll be able to seamlessly reintegrate into the industry after his time away. Will the streets still be his muse, or has he changed during his time in prison? Can he evolve as an artist while staying true to the sound that brought him to prominence? The rap game is known for its ever-changing nature, and Shiesty's comeback is expected to be a defining moment for both him and the industry. Given the nature of Shiesty's career, there's a good chance he will come back with a more refined sound, perhaps with a newfound sense of perspective and wisdom gained from his time away. The time spent in prison may have given him the space to reflect on his life, his choices, and the path forward. Many artists who have spent time behind bars come out with a deeper understanding of themselves, and this often leads to a shift in their music. For Shiesty, this could mean new subject matter, new themes, and a more introspective approach to his music. It's not hard to imagine that the rapper might use his time in prison as a source of creative fuel, producing tracks that blend his raw, street-driven energy with a new level of emotional depth and maturity. At the same time, Shiesty's drive to succeed and innovate is undeniably strong. It's clear that he has not lost the hunger that made him such a force in the rap game. In fact, it could be argued that his time away from the industry has only amplified his desire to prove himself once more. The challenges he's faced, the lessons he's learned, and the obstacles he's overcome could all play a role in shaping his future music. Fans are eagerly anticipating the music that will emerge from Shiesty's next phase, and it's clear that his return could be a major moment in the hip-hop world. While there's no way to predict exactly what Shiesty's comeback will look like, one thing is certain: his drive to succeed and evolve is stronger than ever. Whether he picks up right where he left off or takes his sound in a new direction, Shiesty's return to music promises to be one of the most highly anticipated events in recent hip-hop history. With a combination of fresh creative energy, a refined perspective, and an undeniable hunger to succeed, Pooh Shiesty is primed to make a significant impact when he returns to the music scene. The world is watching, and the stage is set for the next chapter of his career. The real question is whether the changes he's gone through during his time away will influence his music, giving it a deeper, more reflective edge, or if he'll go straight back to delivering the hard-hitting tracks that made him a household name. Fans are watching closely, waiting to see how this next chapter unfolds.